And so we're back to ads and music videos one last time. This will probably be the last one for a while since I've not really got any more left to talk about, and this will also be a shorter one because of that. But I always do love talking about these, so let's get into them for our last video of Aardmay 2025. First off, an ad that I was surprised to find out that Aardman had anything to do with, Thatchers Cider. Or, as they call it down in the home of cider, the West Country, cider.
Sleeping cider.
While I'm teetotal now, I did drink some Thatchers back when I still drank, and I remember it tasting quite nice, but this isn't about the amber nectar, this is about the ad. As you can see, the style of these ads is unlike anything that Aardman has done before. You may have seen it used by other animation teams in recent movies like Beetlejuice 2, and it's quite outstanding. It reminds me a lot of the animation Wes Anderson uses in his animated movies, but using puppets that are now incredibly more realistic looking. It's honestly quite unnerving how realistic and at the same time not realistic these things look, but they do look amazing. I will say though that while they've got the people down perfect, they still have work to do on the other creatures. That dog kind of looks like a Sylvanian family's doll that's had a really rough life. But still, the technology alone and how we see it here shows that stop motion can still keep up with the big boys in animation and keep surprising us. In terms of the narrative of the ads, there's nothing too special. It's just a well-flowing series of vignettes to show how they make their cider, with a mix of CGI in there. But the colours are beautiful. It really makes you feel like you're at a cider farm. The main character is the company head and spokesperson, Martin Thatcher. Although I have to say that his puppet looks nothing like the real person. He looks more like a cross between Hugh Bonneville and Martin Clunes than Thatcher. But hey, you get what you get. Most of the ads involve him doing a taste test, and thank God Thatchers don't make fighting cider, or else these ads would turn into a Wes Anderson movie by the end. Either way, it's really cool to see Aardman working with new techniques, but let's get back to something that's more traditional from them. The problem with having done this for so long is that it becomes hard to find new ads that aren't like ones I've already talked about, like this country code ad. It's just creature comforts again. But every once in a while, they surprise you with something very different and actually quite shocking. This is a short film they did for Greenpeace to promote environmental awareness, specifically how sea turtles are suffering from endangerment. It starts off all sweet and innocent, just seeming like a family of turtles on their way back from holiday in a car ride.
It's a video, Mum.
Oops, sorry. How much longer?
Don't worry, we'll be home in no time.
But then this happens.
Let's get you inside.
Dad? What's that noise?
Guys, it's okay. It's okay.
And then it finishes off with this.
Was my face.
Well, now I can't watch Wallace and Gromit without getting PTSD. Thanks for that. Of course, we in the UK have scary and traumatizing PSA videos down to an art form, and yes, as this ad shows, we're still doing them. But to see Nick Park's animation style used to make this one, it legit gave me a feeling of anxiety and fear I'd not felt for a long time when watching one of these. Seeing his charming, cute cartoon characters be put through something like this, and then see them looking so crushed emotionally, it really did get to me. And honestly, I think it was actually quite a smart idea. It's that little level of messed up, but the right amount to get people to realise what's going on in a world we can't see, and to take something that we associate as being comforting and making it seem harrowing and horrific. It really does grab you and makes you remember it, so bravo there. In terms of it being made for its cause, there's always the argument of them being a bit gratuitous, or how it doesn't really provide an answer to this problem beyond signing a petition and supporting a charity that is claiming to know what to do. But this isn't a review of Greenpeace, this is about the ad, and I think it's really well made and a really clever idea. I really have to give them credit for that. It also uses some other techniques that we'd not really seen from Aardman before, like POV camera shots and more found footage feel to it, which is really interesting. I admit it's not something I might choose to watch in the future, but it is certainly very well made and I certainly won't forget it. But let's get into something more light-hearted, shall we? Well, when I said light-hearted, I didn't mean too light-hearted, because now we're visiting an old nemesis of mine, Angry Kid. Okay, I'll be honest, perhaps my thoughts on Angry Kid in the past were a bit too harsh. There is creativity, craft, and some good humour in those shorts. But my thoughts haven't changed. I find it annoying, unpleasant, and just not fun to watch. But a contrast to that is this ad, which was made in the same style of that show. This is an ad they made for Pringles, the sort of crisp snack that, despite having the most British looking mascot since Uncle Moneybags from Monopoly, it's actually made in America. Not too surprising, since whatever potatoes they use to make these from is not the dreary, depressed, black marked potatoes we have in this country. Regardless, this actually is quite a funny ad about a brother and a sister playing around with different Pringles in their mouths. This is vastly superior to Angry Kid already in how the characters don't talk. That's a big win right there. But more so, it's how it's brilliantly timed and has a lot of Looney Tunes-esque energy. I legit laughed at a lot of these setups and they're really creative, so I do have to give them credit there. See, Angry Kid? Why couldn't you be more like this? Although, that being said, never actually do this with Pringles. They can be sharp and get caught in the throat easily. That would be the one time when you do stop after you pop. So I think it's time to call it on the ads. Not that there aren't still more out there to talk about, but I think I've hit just about every flavour of ad Aardman has ever done. There's really not anything left that I can talk about without repeating myself. So, time to move on to the music videos. But here, we've got a bit of a problem. There's really only one left. Now, to be sure, Aardman has worked on other music videos providing animated segments to them, like Love Can Heal by their old pal Peter Gabriel, though it's nowhere near as fun and colourful as the last music video they did for him. I guess leaving Genesis really messed him up. Feel like I'm listening to a Lost Bjork song. Daddy by the most divisive band of the late 2000s, Coldplay, which is a sweet video, but there's not that much variety to give me so much to talk about. Hell, I wish I had more to talk about with it, because I could probably have made jokes about Coldplay being overhyped or overhated or just unlucky to get the reputation they had all day. And My Baby Cares For Me by Nina Simone, which feels more like a student animation project than anything else, but it is interesting to see some pre-Wallace and Gromit stuff from Aardman, especially since the sets have an almost German expressionist vibe to them, which is really cool. But the only one left that really gives me stuff to talk about is Barefootin' by Robert Parker, another old song that they basically did a fan music video to, but is way more surreal and creative. And for the record, this title is not a reference to a character having a foot fetish. If it was, it'd probably be Tarantino's, and my favourite song. Yes, I'm a perv, but at this point, who doesn't know that? Barefootin' is a classic 60s R&B dance song, kinda like The Twist or The Duck, though it didn't quite catch on as much of a dance craze as those ones did, but it is a nice catchy song.
Take off your shoes and pat your feet. We doing a dance that can't be beat. We barefootin'.
But apparently Aardman's interpretation of this song is that it's sung by a bunch of aliens popping out of craters. I keep expecting to see the Soup Dragon or the Smash Mash robot pop up at any second here. Regardless of that little weird bit, the video is incredibly creative and has a ton of stuff happening all at once. And while the animation is a bit crude, since this is again pre-Nick Park animation, the fact that there's so much moving on screen all at once is really impressive. It reminds me a lot of The Trapdoor, though this isn't quite as technically grand as that show was. It is definitely applaudable in just how much detail and effort went into this video, even if it hasn't aged well in its technology. And that includes all the screen skips and juttering. Sorry about that, but it's the only video I could find of this. Also, that alien with the red dress on, does anyone think that she looks like the guy from the big nose from the Pink Panther cartoons painted green in drag? No? Am I the only one that sees it? Alright, fair enough. Also, on reflection, maybe I was wrong. This does feel like a stealth foot fetish video. Either that or I'm more pervy than I thought. Either one is very likely. Also, I have to say, I love the part where the main alien pulls his nose and strums it to the tune of the bass. It's one of those things that you only see in stop motion. It's very much like something you would see in Morph. On that note, you can see how this was really made by Peter Lord. It does have a lot of that Morph-like style and techniques to it, and I've always loved the Morph style, both in animation and in comedy, so to see it in something unrelated like this is quite fun. Regardless, Aardman's style has changed a lot over the years, but their sense of fun and creativity has never died, as both this video shows and the other things we've looked at Aardmay this year. I hope you've enjoyed this year's videos, and as I said, I'll probably be having to take a break from this for a bit as Aardman has to catch up with me and make some more stuff for me to talk about. This is one of the downsides about doing a series about a stop motion animation company, in that I can make these videos a lot faster than they can give me things to talk about. Either way, I don't see Aardman ending anytime soon, and once they've made more stuff to talk talk about, I'll be there to bring it all back to you. But until then, see you next time. Bye.